Nonz, the Kemi Gawa special. So let me tell you about, a specific story that happened between me, Madaka Box, somebody who I look up to, and some girl who rejected me from high school who recently rode my dick. Okay, so literally, what happened was this. So I'm going to start off with literally my connection with all three in one, because this is a this is a psychedelic non-special, because her power is literally meeting out her childish needs. Kind of like how Stangelica is in visionary writing. What she is she's based off the All Grown Up episode, Kemi and Z. Then I'm going to make a Mr. Entry review about Rugrats, about the episode about when Kemi actually hung out with a gang member. Rugrats All Grown Up actually gives you a whole lot of substance and talks about real life, and that's the reason why they didn't really survive too much on television and nobody talked about it, because they kept on comparing it to original Rugrats. But once I watched it as an adult, I realized there was a whole lot of shit going on. What happens is there's this new guy in town who's really a gang member, but Kemi doesn't know that he's a gang member, because every time that Chucky calls to call him out, the gang member has a solid excuse like, oh no, we're not stealing food, we're hiding the food, we're wrapping it in aluminum foil so the bums don't take it and stuff like that. They're making excuses like that in our cartoon, in a children's cartoon, and me being an anime fan, that's incredibly complex. I wouldn't be able to call a gangster if he hit me with something like that, but that's why I learned how to live life, and that's why it's very, very important, because literally, what is the altruism about? You're gonna believe it when you're faced with life's manipulation. Literally, what is saying believe it gonna do? You just straightforward, I'm gonna train hard, this, that. What does that have to do with manipulation? What happens with manipulation? Because you see how you have to straightforward, be good and work hard, and then you have to deal with something complex called manipulation when you get older, and then you have to protect your kids, you have to teach your kids how to not deal with manipulation, how to spot out manipulation, how to stay away from it. You have to teach your kids all of that. You can't get that from running away from reality. You get that from being very aware of the situation and informing somebody about it. So what happened was this. Okay, so what happened was literally, there was this girl in high school that used to reject me all the time, named Kemi. Now Kemi wasn't Stella's best friend, and Kemi literally they knew I had the swag, they knew I had everything. What they did was literally, I was their little cousin, because I was desperate in high school, and Kemi was the ringleader where it came to making sure I never got a girlfriend in high school. It's not the fact that she didn't like me, she knew what my disadvantage was, but she was never willing to tell me it, because literally, I was known on Facebook for that girls. I'm like, hey, you have big titties, big ass. I used to do the same shit on MySpace, and it used to work, but it didn't work anymore. And I was crying my eyes out, acting like I was a former show, and really I already earned it. I already earned Jaylene freshman year and this and that. I earned a whole lot of other shit. You have to understand, I already earned the respect. In the real world, when I give you reasons to make me your boyfriend, your childish standards aren't going to get in the way. That's how the real world acts. When I give you a reason to go out with me, 9 times out of 10 in real life to go out with you, but since we're talking this propaganda, we're forced to face something specific when we have to be a certain way, of course it's gonna get in the way. But in the real world where you're open-minded, especially when she's first turn 18, where her fucking hormones are going all over the place and shit like that, when you grow up in shit, those things your reputation aren't gonna matter. This one girl tried to get me twisted. I knew a gang member that went out with a girl that went to my high school and shit, and I tried calling her out Marlos told me the real rundown. Marlos told me that he really didn't like you, and she came out this what the fuck, Eric? You think you can come at me with your booty ass reputation and stuff like that? Don't even think about it. This is that do you know if my boyfriend's that J right now, he wanna beat your ass, or in actuality that would never happen. She's saying some incredibly hard shit, but this is never going to happen in real life, because that's the whole entire reason why he went to jail, was to escape from her. Now that's a real gangster. That's somebody who truly knows about life and death, knows how to live life, and knows how to view situations. That's somebody who put himself in a bad situation, and so he accepted it to the full, to the fullest and shit. And he's the one who basically said, yeah, I may have fucked up, but I'm not afraid to admit that she's dumb. He didn't make girls 18 right then and there. That's when I realized I was hanging out with a true gangster. And this that. So she called me out, this that, she was roasting the fuck at me, oh, don't even make me go there, I'll slap your ass, this that, and then God got my head, well, now you know, now she roasted you, and if you were to did anything about it, it'd be your privilege to fighting your girl. And where I figured out, you see how God was calm, cool, collect, it's oh, because then you have to fight your girl. You see how she trapped me in a situation? But I just walked off. She's like, yeah, that's right. She better walk off. I'm like, risk granted. And that hits incredibly hard because I was saying that to press. You know why? I was accepting a reality and she wasn't. And that's who's going to realize. Somebody who's accepting a reality and who isn't. That is literally the main purpose of that. So this is a girl. So Kemi like Lily got this now. Lily, see, Lily, Kemi told me her fucking self that Lily, once I got, what happened was I couldn't get any girls in my school because I ruined my reputation. So I got in trouble where a girl I went to another school that acted brand new in front of her friends, but I had messages on Facebook saying that Lily, that we were together, so she couldn't get me in trouble. But Lily, it was a misunderstanding. I had to do 1 week in detention. That was about it. So that one same week I actually wrote Nonz. So like Lily, that's actually fucking funny. I wrote Nonz in detention. Lily freaking doing all this fucking shit like Lily, and that's why Lily, this shit was so crazy. You know, fucking, that's why I thought of ideas like fucking candy and shit, but that's also why I took candy out. Like, Lily, I made Nonz at a time where Lily freaking, I was struggling through fucking high school. Like really, when I was really into anime, I was making Nonz when I was using anime as an excuse not to be social and stuff like that, and that was really, really bad. That's why it's so freaking on point, like when anime was back in its prime. So that's why I tried this and that at the same time, and Kemi was there. So after I got in trouble, Lily going to that other school, that girl, and Lily this and that, I'm like, I just got broken up with the only girl that accepted me. She's like, well, you better figure out something else. It's like, because in terms of this school, there's no girls for you, this and that. And she said Lily like that. And you know what the law says about that? You know what Lily's society says about that? You know she's totally wrong in real life. Once you live real life, but you know what the law says? She's doing that to protect her friends. She's doing that because you're obviously established your friend. No, in real life, I already established that I earned it, and you guys are being full of shit. That's what real life says, okay? So anyway, Kemi was a part of that game, but recently I slept for her, Estella, and I slept for Ivy and Jenny recently. So let me get that right. In real life, Lily, Ivy moved on, but see, Lily, it took her a while to get over the girls. Yeah, I slept with Ivy recently. So you know how that was such a dramatic fucking thing? Again, media is for their brains under. So Lily, you know how you guys like Lily love this dramatic stuff, love how like that was a beautiful story. You know, freaking eventually logic did, and yes, Ivy's ass is fat as fuck. Lily, freaking I had sex with Jenny and Ivy recently, and it made it seem like on the channel like Ivy was never gonna come back. Like, oh, it's so fucking dramatic and so she's gonna hold on to that girl forever and this and that. And I was surprised myself, and that is the power of real life versus media and stuff like that. We're in the same area, we all grew up, we all moved on. Why not keep this out? I'm handsome anyway. That's how real life works, okay? And so like Lily, that's the thing. You see how it's so fucking dramatic, but Lily, I just got to speak with them in real life and how I made a fucking thing of this and that, Lily, fucking. And then later on, I'm gonna tell you where Jaylene came from, Lily, and how they were a whole bunch of girls were reserved specifically so I could become a successful ghostwriter. But you know this and that, Lily, they took advantage of some other bullshit. But like Lily, fucking that's the rundown. So Kemi was being a total dick to me all 4 years throughout high school. I couldn't hang with her club. They already knew what I was gonna do. But you know what they also did? They knew that I had swag, but they knew I wasn't at meteor standards. They can tell. You know when girls like Lily get guys like me who try to have shit in high school, they can tell I get my shit at the thrift store. They can tell I shop at Ross and shit. I was shopping at Ross and I was trying to get girlfriends in high school. That's not the way to go and stuff like that. But in real life, when girls were curious, like, why would you spend more money on something unnecessary as long as there's shoes on your feet? That's how women think. Girls think like, oh, if he doesn't have Jordans or fucking outside. Of course I was gonna be outmastered like Lily. I was doing all that Lily, and I had more swag than everybody she was talking to. Lily, I would talk to my brother. I'd be like, hey, what's up, man? And he's like, man, for sure, just that. And I'll try to do the same thing. Kemi said me. She's like, I like the way you say for sure because I say for sure naturally. But you know what? That's all part of. That means she wants me to be a rapper who doesn't have shit in real life but have everything on paper. Kemi was trying to Lily train me to be one of those rappers. And she saw the day where Estella was all over me. She's like, oh, haven't you had enough of this guy? This is not Lily. So later on, Lily, I figured out like Lily. After Lily, I suffered Kemi recently because of our reputation changed like Lily, and because I grew up in like Lily. Freaking what made her submit was how much sense I was making on YouTube, my success, Lily. Not just my success, but Lily, how I handled the situation, how Lily. So first I called out Estella. I'm like, yo, we're on good terms now, and then Estella brought her, and I ended up fucking them at the same time. But there's something really deep about that. Why Kemi realized that she was wrong was because she knew the complexity of the situation, yet she ignored it in order to make her own self as benefit. But I didn't wrong with her in real life, man. Like Lily, that is the truth behind that, Lily, and that's why I'm telling people like anyway, because like Lily, as they saw it, you had temper tantrums, this flags, you asked this, the face go. All those situations were manipulated, and they realized that when they got older, they were let things actually play out. As soon as Kemi saw that I could dance, as soon as he saw that I was multi-dimensional, that means I'm not a predator, that means I'm not this, that. They understood that people were holding me back, and they added on to it just to make the situation smoother to them. Because really, I get why they held you back, because I'd be jealous of you if I make sure you made it, you know. So like literally, I get that a lot, and like literally freaking this and that, and like literally what happened was this. So I had somebody who gave me validation. So if there's a guy that I really look up to, his name is Simio, and Kari triggered, you know, 3, 2, 1 on 1, 2, 3, I forgot, but like anyway, thinking this guy was my sensei in the era. What happened was I messaged Akari the very day I challenged Sabo. I'm like, yo, like I'm going to challenge Sabo. He's like, oh, that sounds pretty good, I'll let Bush know. So Akari was really casual, but he was really funny. He was known for being high tier, but they always criticize him like, oh, you know, Akari got the high pitched voice and shit. They always make fun of everybody in the era. Fucking his running gag is that he was somebody that literally that could battle, but nobody fucking took him seriously. Like I have a running gag that literally I am the most like fucking, I'm the most unique, and I'm the most for what it is. So that's when they tried to change my archetype. They tried to change my archetype so like it would be concrete instead of being unique, and that's not always going to fly. And like literally, so that's literally what's going on. So Akari's running gag, you know, Duo had a running gag. Every single person has a running gag in order to be high tier in the arrow. Like Sabo is literally fucking the way he raps. Like Sabo fucking rushes over his line. Like he's the fucking gibberish guy. Sabo is the guy who spits gibberish, but sometimes he spits something really creative, man. Literally, this is that literally fucking Duo says, oh, you know, Duo almost fucked up accidentally instead he sucked someone's dick. He was basically a guy who was like a vampire and shit. Like fucking, he's like I suck your dick, I suck your blood. Like literally, it has to be a running gag. And so Akai's running gag was literally his hype, his voice. He can knock you out, but literally, we're going to do our best to belittle fucking Akari, this and that. Like literally, fucking Akari made an acronym to Sabo. He's like sad, literally. he made an acronym for Sabo. He's like sad, abbreviation, bullshitter, obliteration, this and that, Sabo. And so literally, and then people would be like, Akari put all his brain power into that. No, they used to always make fun of Akari. They didn't matter what tier you were, you used to always get roasted in the air row. Literally, this that. Oh my god. So literally, that was Akari's running gag. Is that he had hype his voice, but he had some cool schemes, but he never really had like really heavy hitting punchlines. So they all came into like a childish demeanor. But you know, fucking they tried to say that he was pop, where everybody else like Black and Chaos was like a little bit more thuggish. So he ended up becoming my sensei. He was high tier because he had flow. He had one of the best flows in the league, and he taught me how to do this and that. So I showed him my bars from Sabo. He's like, you about to kill. Ooh, I like your flow. So really, the running gag that they kept for the entire time, I already had validation that I had good flow from Akari. And really, Akari is what Akari is known for best, is flow. But they made fun of mine because what happened was literally Akari is from New York, and like literally I'm from California. So like literally, so Akari understood my style because New York and California have similar, you know, traits and stuff like that where it comes to hype and shit like literally. So he understood my flow. He's like, I like that shit like literally. So Akari was literally, he was listening to my verse of Sabo over and over again. But where it came down to the battle, look what happened. He literally, what happened was I took out all the crowd reactions because he kept on listening to my same verse over and over again. So when Sabo got to spit his shit, he was totally surprised. So literally, he had to give Sabo the W. And like, imagine if literally I wear it as fat my bars thing in my arm. So there is that kind of like, you know, that I am partially wrong for that. Really, the one person who gave me the biggest receipt, I played out the verse. I played out my lyrics for the person who gave me the biggest receipt. So that made it the ultimate gaslight shit. So really, so we can freaking, they knew that Akari trained me and shit, so literally, freaking, he agreed with me, do agree with me, but where it comes to like freaking Bush and freaking Black, so what happened was literally, all the unique people like Steezo, Akari, everybody said that my flow was unique, but literally, where it came down to it, they're like, you know what, man, literally, I listen to the same music you listen to, you gotta make your flow like literally, like suitable for everybody. I'm not saying it's bad, I'm saying they don't listen to E40 and shit, they don't listen to fucking California music, they listen to what's on the radio. You gotta make sure it's concrete or else you can't be high tier. And I kept on using the same fucking style over and over again because really it's because of the fucking Akari shit, and they only gave me validation one time, and Akari, I did agree with them for that one time. They had none to to do with my flow and actuality. What I have to do is literally, what they were doing is they were doing the Nonz technique. And Nonz is a rapper that literally where you can relate to the audience, but the audience can be biased. Nonz can always work for your background garage, but Nonz can never work for a whole stadium because everybody has different opinions. Like literally, what Nonz does is it gives you things to think about, but it's hit and miss. Nonz is a hit and miss rapper, and people think that he's mainstream, which is why he didn't make it, and why I obviously thought that Jay-Z won was because I'm a grown man. I know the power of real romance. When Jay-Z talks about romance, he talks about how many times he got rejected, the journey he goes through woman, and literally how he became a boss over understanding human nature. What does Nonz talk about? Imagine smoking weed where our cops are asking, oh man, I've been smoking weed ever since I've been in high school. That's a kind of weak bar to me. Like, look, you funny this and that, really, I've been pulled over a couple of times smoking weed with my buddies and stuff like that's okay. Like, that has nothing like fucking on the other shit. Why would I listen to Nonz if I always listen to Eminem? If I already listen to Eminem, why would I listen to Nonz? I think about that. And like, literally, and they span that over and over and over again. I need to understand the Nonz principle because Nonz is a hidden message. Even if you don't get it, the audience might get it because the way you structure your bar. That's what Nonz is. Like, I'm gonna reference something in there. If somebody else catches it, he's gonna give me a biased opinion because literally I related to him personally. So what people do is like maybe they'll make a wrestling bar about like wrestling mania. That's what Nonz is. Like literally, Nonz is a way that you can cheat with the audience. It can definitely catch you off guard, but it doesn't outweigh pure skill. So if I were trained 100% every time, I didn't feel like it was 100% every battle because that's not how a battle works. That's not how an artist works. Not every single Eminem song is the same quality. That's the same thing with battle rap. It's the same thing with everything. Like literally, you have to have perspective. Like literally, you have to have literally. Even though we're in a further arc of an anime, this fight isn't gonna be as good as some of the fights in the previous arc because that's what it is. They may have a fight that's better, but you know, everything fucking passed out differently. You get what I'm saying? So literally, so where Akari came from is his favorite character in Madaka Box name is Kumagawa. Now Kumagawa is a mind bender of the universe. He can control matter. So Kemi's role in this Nonz special is exactly that. He's a psychedelic universe bender. So what happens is he ends up really floating in outer space, and Handsome is Stangelica's, you know, partner and sister. You know who Handsome is? Go on my channel, some of my live gameplays. Go type in Nonz Handsome on my channel. Like Handsome, Handsum. So Handsome literally takes, you know, Kemi from space, and Kemi is based off the Rugrats Kemi and our growing baby in real life called Kemi Gawa. So like anyway, fucking like literally. So Kemi Gawa is Kumagawa in this Nonz special, and it's all based off Akari's favorite villain. Akari is my sensei. He trained me every day for Sabo. He got me prepared for Sabo. He's like, no, instead of Pikachu, why don't you say Enel? Because that's my nigga and this not and like literally, this not literally. And that's the exact example for Nonz. Like instead of thinking Pikachu, why don't you pick Inaru? And that one guy who's up here, like really, that is really crazy. So really, fucking like really Akari actually edited some of my bars as well, so I got a receipt from him, and so this is a shout out to my favorite sensei who really thought I can go good, but because we're working in that biased environment, you know, freaking, he always said my flow was good in every single battle, but like he could not deal with their biases because even though I may have good rhythm, I wasn't like, I wasn't like this and that, and when I did do, guess what they would do? They would take me sarcastically, like literally, they do like literally the tools I do now, but when it comes to like literally keeping their fence, imagine all the tools I use when I get in Stone's head, but use like literally to suit their friends to make sure they have a resource. Imagine all the strategies I use. I know how to make Stone tick. I know how to make a lot of people tick. Literally, I know how you think. I know how to make like specific people who literally went through something, got some passing. Oh, I've been there and done that. Imagine doing that, but for the benefit of reaching your friend. Literally, oh, I may be a loser at risk, but literally, he doesn't understand. I'm still the one with the benefit. Like, literally, I'm like, oh, well, why don't you sing me a freestyle? Like, it's like, oh, what did you say, Riz? That's all I hear when you out your words when you rap. You see, they can act like total fucking children, but guess what? They're still aware of the situation. It doesn't matter if they literally spit gibberish. They're still in a trap. They're still outnumbered, and they're still in charge. You get what I'm thinking? You get what I'm saying? You really get what I'm saying? So this is dedicated to Akari Trigger, my favorite sensei, and Kemi Gawa, a grown thing, and Kemi from Rugrats, all grown up into one Kumagawa special, and her power is psychedelic, you know, freaking mind control. And she fights the arena, and she gets knocked out. And there's also going to be a crossover between My Valentine from Yu-Gi-Oh! And Faith Valentine from Lily from fucking Cowboy Bebop, and she's gonna star in this nonsense. This is also gonna be a movie starring Gingivitis. You know, Gingivitis is gonna fight. Also, you know, Celia is gonna fight. You know, they're all gonna fight because she's gonna become a planetary threat. You know, a galaxy threat and stuff like that. She's trying to fuse with the fucking space in the outer sky. She's trying to control shit. Like the ending of Zamasu like Lily, where he became madder that she can't kill, but Lily he couldn't control shit either. That's basically her paradox in this movie. Like Lily, she is so psychedelic, she can do anything. She is super powered, but like Lily figuring it all crashes back to one because she is outnumbered by wit and she's outnumbered by fucking power and this and that. But she really becomes a threat in this and that. But Lily, it's because she's a little kid, she doesn't know how to control her power and shit. So this is all based on a story about a girl I knew fucking a long time ago who ended up submissive due to reality and due to moving on and due to literally freaking what I took advantage in life. And like you have to understand that literally freaking this is a movie dedicated to what everything was wrong about Lily, the constructive criticism, but everything that was right about the lessons I learned from it. This is everything I learned about Lily, from girls rejecting me in high school for the wrong reason, just to keep their opinion, from ARL keeping me low tier for their own personal benefit. This is what I learned from all that, and this is what true power and charisma is. This is dedicated to how Akari treated me, because the same way that Akari treated me, the same way that Akari trained me, is the same reason why I got to see with Kemi, because I knew I was right and I stuck to their truth, and no matter how much I was outnumbered and outpowered, I stuck to the truth and God showed me the way, and that's why I got to get in them draws, baby. So like literally, this is Nonz, the Kemi Gawa special.